Well, if this wasn't the most desensitized comment I have read thus far, it's like I don't know if the person was just a-hole, cold-hearted, didn't care about anything, racist, or just a fool. But listen to this comment that this person was working for the city of Los Angeles. They came together in this big muckety-muck meeting to discuss the civil lawsuit that was filed against the city of Los Angeles in regards to Christopher Wallace. It was like a wrongful death lawsuit. And listen to the comment that someone working for the city said about him. The FBI and LAPD were inter-department. One of those on the city side of the table argued, and it would be insane to jeopardize all that just to solve the murder of a 400-pound black crack dealer turned rapper. Now, some people choose to have compassion for a person after they have been unalived or died, right? They choose to have compassion, or unless the person was like a psychopath, like puppy killer, abuser of women and children and everything under the sun. But other than that, some people have respect. So the thing that bothered me the most is how many people mirrored how this person felt. Were they the only ones who felt that way? Or were they the only ones foolish enough to say how they felt out loud? And I noticed that the author didn't say, people were offended. People told this person, watch their tone, watch what they say. This person worked for the city, one of the largest cities in the country, and lacked that kind of compassion. Imagine how many more felt and feel the same way he or she does. And then you wonder why so much coldness and confusion and heartlessness in this country, because you have people like that who don't give a damn, and if you don't look like them, they really don't give a damn, and then they assume that all people who don't look like them are nothing but common criminals. So why should we give a F? That's the mentality. But then they want to smile on camera, right? Okay, I'll be back. Hello, and welcome back, everyone. Newcomers, you're welcome as well. Thank you for showing up. So, I guess you guys are wondering why I brought you here today. Okay, let's get into this for real. I decided to do a deep dive on Christopher Wallace, aka Biggie Small, Notorious Big. What made me decide to do it is when I did the video on Tupac and Eazy-E, and they had a link attached to the article talking about the Biggie Smalls FBI investigation. I was like, okay, let me check it out. And I came across some things I had been interested in talking about some time ago, but I never got around to doing it. So I'm going to do it now. So check this out, folks. And if you already heard this before, it's cool. It's cool. But thank you for the support anyway, but you don't have to let me know you already heard it before. This is for the people who have not heard it before, or even if they did hear it before, they want to hear it again. Okay, let's get on with this. Okay. This is something I stumbled across. This is the only article circulating. It was published April the 15th, 2011. And is the article, no, the website is 927.com, I think. And I was like, okay, this is peculiar. Either they are just that bold and don't care what people think and they publish this information, or they're full of it. I circulated the article around to see, if people had ever heard of this before. Everybody, of course, said no. So I'm going to put it out there. And if anyone heard something similar to it, or, please let me know in the comments. If you never heard of it, that's fine, because I never heard of it before. And there's a way you can bring information to people without sounding like a complete jerk. So this is what I discovered. Check it out. Recently revealed details about autopsy of murdered rapper suggest, and they're talking about Tupac. He suffered torture by EMR. And those who don't know what EMR is, it stands for eggs, macaroni, and rice. Yeah, I had a whole article where I was going to explain exactly what they do. And they had a YouTube link to demonstrate it. No, I don't even think it was a demonstration. I think they were actually doing it to someone. The police were actually not our police. Allegedly, there were police in another country that was doing these torturous things. And I'm going to say alleged because I couldn't find anything else to verify this. So again, these are alleged allegations. Let's go on. The autopsy of the murdered rapper suggests he suffered torture by EMR, a violent technique used by gangs which causes heart attacks in the space of hours. But then you got to wonder if this, okay, now I'm just thinking, now I'm reading out loud to myself. It's like, if that causes heart attacks in the space of hours, how was he able to still, because this supposedly happened before he was gunned down in Vegas. So you see what I'm saying? But just listen to the article. Even if it's for S and giggles, just listen to it. More revelations are surfacing from the FBI files recently released about murdered rapper Tupac Shakur. Last week, the FBI revealed that Shakur had received death threats, and I discussed that in a video that I did a couple of days ago. But the FBI files also show that although Shakur was shot dead in Vegas by unknown assailants, an autopsy performed after his 96 murder concluded the rapper would have died the same day due to abnormally high cholesterol rates. The autopsy also found huge numbers of eggshells in the rapper's stomach. Now, see, I searched for the autopsy, and what I saw, it didn't indicate that. Not saying that this article is a bust. Some people know how to get certain information, like others can't. But yeah, I saw his death certificate, and I saw the autopsy that they had online, and it didn't state, what the contents of his stomach. Okay, let's go on. According to a source in the FBI, these findings are concurrent with a technique adopted from some of the most violent gangs known as EMR, eggs, macaroni, and rice. The victim is forced to pay up or consume huge amounts of carbs. The FBI files include a CCTV clip filmed by police showing how the technique is used. And of course, the link is disabled. As in this official police clip, we can see the victim escaping towards the end, only to be found deceased 2 hours later from a lethal heart attack. Now, what I will do is put the link to this magazine. It's called 972mag.com. That's the website I found that on. I will put the link to that article or magazine in the description so you guys can go check it out yourself. Yeah, so like I said, I don't, I was researching for a good hour or so trying to find something to support that. Didn't find a lick of nothing. So, but I just shared it with you guys because I thought it was interesting. Whether it's true or not, it's still interesting and is disturbing. If it's true, it's disturbing on so many levels, because you see how they always focus on the things that people who look like me do, the so-called violence. But then you got other people that hide behind us and they're more violent, more disturbed, more depraved. Okay, let's go on. Now let's get into, this is what I want to discuss this before we get into the FBI files. I wanted to take you guys on a deep dive. So what they did was created a chronology timeline of events that took place before the shootings of both rappers and things that occurred afterwards. Okay, let's get into it. And then after we discussed nefarious things that took place in Los Angeles, we're going to discuss the timeline that the FBI created. And it's an overall timeline with things that took place prior to both rappers being gunned down, and I believe afterwards, but mainly it's a lot of events that took place prior to the rapper's demise, and some of these things I never heard, didn't even know happened. Okay, let's go on. Pac, Notorious Big, 2 corrupt cops in a corrupt police station, Rampart. That is the most notorious police station that I'm aware of in Southern California, and I'm sure there are more. Let's go on. Let's look into what transpired and probably led up to the deaths. The deaths of the 2 rappers. We will begin with some corrupt cops and a whole corrupt police station, the Rampart Police Station. And if you guys are not familiar with it, just look it up. Rampart, Rampart Police Station in Southern California. And I know damn well they ain't the only police station. No, they've been dismantled. The police station doesn't exist anymore. But I know they're... Okay, let's go on. You know what I'm talking about. March the 18th, 1997. Road rage shootout. Undercover LAPD officer Frank Liga shot and killed off-duty LAPD officer Kevin Gaines in a case of apparent road rage. The shooting of a black officer Gaines by a white cop created a highly publicized police controversy. Liga told Frontline that Gaines threatened him with a gun and that he responded in self-defense, adding, "In my training experience, this guy had 'I am a gang member' written all over him." Oh, God. And that was in 97. Investigators on the case discovered that Gaines had allegedly been involved in similar road rage incidents, threatening drivers and brandishing his gun. They also discovered troubling connections between Gaines and Death Row Records, a rap recording label owned by Marion Suge Knight that investigators came to find was hiring off-duty police officers as security guards. Liga, who had been reassigned to desk duty while the LAPD reviewed the circumstances of the shooting, including whether his actions had been racially motivated, was ultimately exonerated a year later. 3 separate internal investigations determined that the shooting was in policy. After the shooting, the Gaines family, represented by attorney Johnny Cochran, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles for $25 million. Listen to what they settled for. $250,000. Now, how we jump from 25 million to 10% of that? How did that even happen? How the heck? They didn't even get $1 million. Boy, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, let's go on. November the 6th, 1997, bank robbery. Robbers targeted a Los Angeles branch of Bank of America, making off with $722,000. Investigating officers were immediately suspicious of assistant bank manager Erlyn Romero, who had more cash than was necessary delivered just 10 minutes before the robbery. 1 month later, Romero confessed to her role in the crime and implicated her boyfriend, LAPD officer David Mack, as the mastermind. A former track star, Mack was arrested and later convicted of the bank robbery. He was sentenced to 14 years and 3 months in federal prison. He has refused to reveal the whereabouts of the money, and while in prison has reportedly associated himself with Ma Piru Bloods, a gang with ties to Death Row Records. Detectives investigating Mack discovered that 2 days after the robbery, Mack and 2 other police officers, including a former partner, Rafael Perez, spent the weekend gambling in Las Vegas, spending thousands of dollars. February 26, 1998, station house beating. LAPD officer Brian Hewitt, a member of LAPD's elite anti-gang unit, crash. I remember when they first came out with that unit, that division, I felt it wasn't going to be right, because anything that they specifically put aside to supposedly intervene in what's going on in the hood, you can best believe a lot of people in the hood are not going to be safe. I'm talking about even the ones that are not participating in the shenanigans. You know what I'm saying? Let's go on. Community resource against hoodlums. When you hear hoodlums, which is the first group, or who's the first group that comes to mind? See, that's what I call mind effing. Associate black folks with everything negative. Okay, let's go on. It's like, first of all, who came up with that name? Who was allowed to name that program or put hoodlums in the name of that program that was supposed to be a resource for the community? See what I'm talking about? LAPD officer Brian Hewitt, a member of LAPD's elite anti-gang crash unit, community resources against street hoodlums. I can imagine. I already know who came up with that name. In the Rampart division, brought 18th Street gang member Ishmael Jimenez to the Rampart police station for questioning. Hewitt allegedly beat the handcuffed Jimenez in the chest and stomach, causing him to vomit blood. After being released, Jimenez went to the hospital where officials notified the LAPD of his injuries and complaints. Subsequent internal investigations resulted in firing of Hewitt and another officer, Ethan Cohen, who the department determined knew about but failed to report the beating. Jimenez, who was awarded $231,000 in a civil settlement with the city, is currently in federal custody pending a multiple count indictment for the distribution of drugs and conspiracy to commit murder. My God. Now, what is that money going to do for him? What is that money? What did it? Well, it can help his family, huh? Or it helped his family, I'm assuming. March 27th, 1998. Missing C, the white powder. Officials in the LAPD property room discovered that 6 pounds of C evidence are missing. Within a week, detectives focused their investigation on LAPD officer Rafael Perez, a member of the Rampart crash unit. May 98, task force created. Concerned about a possible clique of officers involved in criminal misconduct, working off duty for Death Row Records, robbing banks, and stealing C, LAPD Chief Bernard Parks established an internal investigative task force. The investigative team, later named the Rampart Corruption Task Force, focused primarily on the prosecution of Rafael Perez. Further audit of the LAPD property room identified another pound of missing C, evidence that had been booked on a prior arrest made by Detective Frank Liga, the officer who had shot Kevin Gaines. At the time, investigators speculated that Perez may have stolen the C booked by Liga in retaliation for the shooting of Gaines. August 25th, 1998. Perez arrested. When first stopped and arrested by detectives, Perez asked, "Is this about the bank robbery?" It wasn't. It was about the 6 pounds of missing cocaine, which investigators believe had been checked out by Perez under another officer's name and sold on the streets of Rampart through a girlfriend. In December, Perez was brought to trial on charges of possession of C with intent to sell, grand theft, and forgery. After 5 days of deliberation, the jury announced that it was hopelessly deadlocked, with a final vote of 8-4 favoring conviction. In preparing to bolster their case for a retrial, investigators discovered an additional 11 instances of suspicious C transfers. Detectives were able to identify dope switches where Perez had ordered the C evidence out of property and replaced it with Bisquick. September the 8th, 1999, Perez cuts a deal. Rafael Perez made a deal with prosecutors under which he pled guilty to cocaine theft and agreed to provide prosecutors with information about 2 bad shootings and 3 other Rampart crash officers involved in illegal activity. In exchange, Perez received a 5-year prison sentence and immunity from further prosecution of misconduct short of murder. Among his first revelations, Perez told investigators of how he and his partner, Nino Durden, had shot, framed, and testified against Javier Ovando, an unarmed gang member who was left paralyzed as a result of the incident. At the time of Perez's admission, Ovando was in jail serving the 23-year sentence he had received for allegedly assaulting 2 officers. Thus began a 9-month confessional, during which time Perez met with investigators more than 50 times and provided more than 4,000 pages in sworn testimony. Before he was done, Perez implicated about 70 officers in misconduct, from bad shootings to drinking beer on the job. This don't make no damn. You see why some people don't like the police, and that's not, I'm not talking about the ones who worship them, like kind of sort of like, put police on these high pedestals. I don't understand what mentality that is, but the ones who have experienced the true nature of some of these police officers, that's why they can't stand them, because they're in a position to uphold the law, right? Enforce it and uphold it, and they're breaking it. It's disgusting. Let's go on. September the 16th, 1999, Ovando released, with Perez recanting his 1996 testimony about the shooting of Javier Ovando. The district attorney's office filed a writ of habeas corpus seeking to overturn his conviction. Ovando was released from prison after serving 2.5 years. Based upon Perez's allegations of wrongful arrest and investigations by the task force, nearly 100 more convictions were eventually overturned. September 21, 1999, Board of Inquiry. LAPD Chief Bernard Parks formed a board of inquiry comprised of LAPD command staff to analyze management failures and investigate the depth of the corruption scandal. The board's report, released in March 2000, blames in large measure lax departmental management for allowing misconduct within the Rampart division to occur. The report offers 108 recommendations, including the improvement of hiring practices, supervisory oversight, and police training. They actually had the luxury of getting recommendations. Wow, some people would just get fired, because that was some brazen misconduct, almost like they didn't have any kind of superiors, or a chief for that matter. Let's go on. March the 3rd, 2000, crash disbanded. LAPD Chief Bernard Parks announced that he was disbanding the department's crash units and creating new anti-gang details that would include more rigorous requirements for membership, stressing the officer's level of experience. So, let me ask the honest question. Since they have all these gang task force, do they have motorcycle, task force for I'm talking about like white motorcycle gangs, and task force for like skinheads and their gangs, and you know what I'm saying? Just make it fair. Be diverse in your search for justice, Let's go on. April 2000, Police Commission review. Because I was, okay, you know what? I'm gonna share something someone told me who has a background in law enforcement. They told me that in prison, who kills one another the most? Guess. He said the white men kill one another the most. It could be literally, he gave me a number. It could be 10 white men, right, in this particular unit. Guess how many will get killed? Guess how many are killed within that 10 group of black white men? 5. True story. He said they are the white, what do you call those people? Racists and skinheads. He said they are the most savage and vicious in the prison system. And then under them are Hispanics. Y'all better stop believing everything y'all told and get facts. And this person had nothing to gain by telling me this. Nothing. Nothing to lose either. So let's go on. I mean, this person shared with me what they had seen with their own eyes. Savageness and brutality of these two groups, Hispanics and whites. That throughout the whole prison systems, the white prisoners are more savage. That's what he told me. Oh my God. Let me go on because I'm getting irritated just thinking about it. Okay, let's go on. April 2000, Police Commission review. The Police Commission formed the Rampart Independent Review Panel comprised of citizens including attorneys, educators, and business executives, and it would have been nice if they added the demographics. The panel issued a report in November 2000 with 72 findings, 86 recommendations. It concluded that officers need better and more supervision, that the department compromises criminal investigations of officer-involved shootings and major use of force incidents, and that the LAPD is viewed by the community as excessively hostile and confrontational. July 28, 2000, Perez's partner arrested for a Vondo shooting. Perez's partner, Nino Durnan, was arrested and charged with attempted murder for the shooting of Javier Vondo. He was also charged with perjury, filing false police reports, and robbery. He pleaded innocent to all charges in November 2000. September the 11th, 2000. Independent report critical of LAPD's handling of scandal. Professor Erwin Kimmersrinsky of the University of Southern California released an analysis of the LAPD's Board of Inquiry report, which he prepared at the request of the Police Protective League. He concluded that LAPD minimized the magnitude of the Rampart scandal and failed to acknowledge the extent to which its internal culture allowed corruption to fester. Didn't I say that's how they act? They went to work acting like they didn't have to answer to anybody. Professor Irwin's report recommends more aggressive independent reviews and a permanent special prosecutor to investigate police misconduct. And when they have those reviews, they need to have a panel who is not putting the police department on a pedestal. You need to have a panel filled with people who are realistic and know that just because somebody put on a badge does not mean they are upstanding. Or just because they have on a badge or a uniform, they are corrupt. Not everybody that wears a uniform or a police badge is corrupt. But not every one of them is upstanding either. Some of them are straight criminals wearing a uniform. Y'all just got to just deal with reality and stop playing this game. Like you don't know people or have a ability to go either way. Oh my God. Let's go on. September 19th, 2000. Feds take over LAPD. Whoa, that's deep. The Los Angeles City Council voted 10-2 to accept a consent decree allowing a federal judge acting on behalf of the U.S. Department of Justice to oversee and monitor reforms within LAPD for a period of 5 years. In agreeing to the consent decree, the Justice Department, which had been investigating the LAPD since 1996 for excessive force violations, agreed not to pursue a civil rights lawsuit against the city. Los Angeles Mayor Richard Riordan, he was a piece of work, and LAPD Chief Bernard Parks initially opposed the consent decree, but backed down when it became clear that it was supported by the city council. Riordan signed the consent decree in November 2000, and they gave Bernard Parks a hard ass time. He was like, what? I don't know if he was the first black chief, but they gave that man a hard time. They really gave him a hard time to the point where he resigned. Let's go on. They always do that. September 26, 2000, whistleblower files lawsuit charging cover-up. Former LAPD detective Russell Poole filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles and LAPD Chief Bernard Parks. Poole, a detective with the Robbery Homicide Division, was a lead investigator on the Liga Gaines shooting and was later assigned to Rampart Corruption Task Force, where he investigated the station house beating of Ishmael Jimenez. Poole resigned from the department after 18 years and claims in his civil suit that Chief Parks shut down his efforts to fully investigate the extent of corruption within the department, including possible criminal activities of Kevin Gaines and David Mack, as well as the breadth of officer misconduct within Rampart. Chief Parks has denied Poole's allegations in the lawsuit, calling them totally false. Totally false. Think about, let me go on. October the 4th, 2000, 3 crash cops convicted. In the first criminal case stemming from Perez's allegations, Sergeant Edward Ortiz, Brian Liddy, Paul Harper, Michael Buchanan, all of the Rampart crash unit were tried and charges of perjury, fabricating arrests, and filing false police reports. Perez did not testify at the trial due to concerns about his credibility. All 4 officers pleaded not guilty. On November 15, 2000, Ortiz, Liddy, and Buchanan were convicted of conspiracy to obstruct justice and filing false police reports, while Harper was acquitted of all charges. November 21st, 2000, record settlement reached. In the largest police misconduct settlement in the city history, Javier Ovando was awarded $15 million. An additional 29 civil suits were settled for nearly $11 million. The city faced more than 140 civil suits stemming from the corruption scandal. Estimates that total settlement costs will be about $125 million. That was in 2000, so imagine what it would be today. 4 months after his settlement, Ovando was arrested in Nevada and charged with the possession and trafficking of drugs. Damn, Ovando, what the F? I mean, that wasn't enough for you? The man got, how much he get? 15 million. Okay, you know, the attorneys got to get their cut and all that. He still walked away with a few million. And your ass was still, man, I'll be done with Ovando for real. I'll be like, I'm cool on you, dude. Let's go on. December 22, 2000, crash cop convictions overturned. After a series of hearings investigating allegations of jury misconduct, Superior Court Judge Jacqueline Connor overturned the convictions of Rampart crash cops Ortiz, Liddy, and Buchanan. Judge Connor called the verdict unfair because in post-trial interviews, the jurors disclosed that they had determined guilt based on a reporting issue not raised in a trial. In January 2001, the new DA, Steve Cooley, announced that he would appeal Judge Connor's decision. March 23, 2001. 3 major crash cops indicted, 2 plead out. The district attorney's office brought felony indictments against 3 former Rampart crash officers, Ethan Cohen, Manuel Chavez, and Sean Gomez. The complaints charged the officers with assaulting 2 gang members and filing false police reports. Chavez and Gomez had reached plea agreements, including cooperation with prosecutors. Cohen has pleaded innocent and awaits trial. March 30, 2001, Perez's partner pleads guilty. Perez's former partner, Nino Durnin, cut a deal with state and federal prosecutors in which he agreed to plead guilty to 10 state and federal charges, including fabricating evidence, false arrests, and presenting false testimony. Durden is expected to receive a prison sentence of 7 to 8 years, and the deal requires that he fully cooperate with federal prosecutors who, using Durden's testimony, may bring additional indictments against Rafael Perez. Here's the thing. Police officers basically they operate mainly outside and away from superiors, just under the eye of the public, right? And the way they can say things and arrange things, they can make it seem like they didn't do anything wrong. And people are just complaining because they hate the police or they don't like authority. You know, so they have a lot, I don't want to say power, but they have a lot of room to do what they damn near please. And nobody would be the wiser. You know, not the people that they feel actually care, because the Gen Pop, most of them don't give a F how the Gen Pop sees them. They don't give a F if the Gen Pop complain, because all they're going to do is know how to create a fantastic report or response to justify or try to explain what they did, and then the higher ups are just going to accept it. So you have to be an honest person to be a police officer. And I'm not talking about honest to the point where, you know, you do everything perfect, but honest where you're going to do your job and be fair, regardless of who sees you or not. Let's go on. July the 24th, 2001, Perez released. After serving 3 years of his 5-year sentence, Rafael Perez was released from prison and placed on parole. Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Robert Perry ruled that due to safety concerns, Perez could serve his parole outside the state of California. And I looked up Perez. I wanted to see if the guy was still alive. They said something that was published in 23 said that last they heard he was a driver, a limo driver or something. I was like, hey, if y'all see him, give him my email. I'll be like, Perez, let's talk, dude. And I'm not being facetious. I'm serious. If anybody listening to this video know Perez, tell Perez, hit me up. Let's go on. In the email so we can talk. December the 17th, 2001, Perez pleads guilty to federal charges. Perez pled guilty to federal civil rights and firearms violations resulting from the shooting of Javier Ovando. He admitted to 1 count of conspiracy to violate Ovando's civil rights and 1 count of possessing a firearm with an obliterated serial number. He is scheduled for sentencing in March 2002 and is expected to serve 2 years in federal prison under the plea agreement. That's deep. So that was the end of that time period. I wonder why they said those things led up. Because the years were well after the murders of the 2 rappers. Now I'm gonna read a little bit of the FBI files of Christopher Wallace, and of course we all know he was shot and killed outside the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles after attending a post-music awards ceremony. Wallace was in the middle car of a 3-car caravan where a dark Chevy SS Impala pulled next to him and fired several times into the passenger area where Wallace was sitting. Wallace died minutes later. And on this is what somebody said. And this is what they said in the report. Check this out. They said that they saw, this is not what I wanted to point out, but I'm just going to read this part. They said, this is the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It's dated December the 16th, 2002, Los Angeles, from Los Angeles. And they said several sources have identified the shooter as a light-skinned black male wearing a suit and bow tie. And who? Oh, God. Okay. So you're just going to stand out in the crowd, going to commit, a murder. You're going to stand out and, okay, let's go on. And they have it redacted, some parts redacted, has been identified by several sources as being the trigger man. It has also been noted by several sources that other LAP officers attended this party and were seen with just prior to the was seen, and it's redacted, just prior to the shooting, redacted. This is what people, I don't know if the witnesses pointed this out or this is the investigators wrote this in the report. They said it alleged the same tactics, redacted, were used to pull off the Wallace murder because of the professional manner in which the Wallace murder took place. It is alleged that not only could one gang member, redacted Ma Piru Blood, not pull this off, but it would have taken a large contingency of people / officers. After a search warrant was served, redacted, residents, it was discovered in his garage he had a shrine of Tupac Shakur and numerous 9mm guns and ammunition, LAPD radios, scanners, and other tactical items. Note, a 9mm gun was used to kill Wallace with very rare Gecko 9mm ammunition. They said, the murder was retaliation for Pac. LAPD officers were Ma Piru Blood gang members that worked with and affiliated with Death Row Records when Tupac was killed, and that this was orchestrated by, is redacted, his good friend, redacted, and other LAPD officers that is blanked out associated with. Sources within the LAPD have stated blank towarded the murder investigation when blank and other LAPD officers began to show up as potentially being involved. Numerous sources have stated they will cooperate with the FBI in attempts to determine what role LAPD officers played. So, the following is a synopsis regarding the murder of Christopher Wallace, aka Notorious B.I.G. Biggie Smalls, that occurred in '97 in Los Angeles. At the time of his murder, Biggie was the #1 rap artist for Bad Boy Records based in New York. Shakur was shot and killed in Vegas in September '96, 6 months prior to Biggie's killing. Tupac was the #1 artist for Death Row Records, which is based in Compton, California. There was an ongoing rivalry, blah, blah, blah. Tupac and Biggie became friends as they both began rapping on the East Coast, with Biggie opening up gigs for Tupac. Tupac was signed by Bad Boy Records. Tupac was signed What? I think they wrote that wrong. It says, matter of fact, I'm going to put it in the video. Tupac was signed by Bad Boy Records. As Tupac got in trouble, I think they meant Death Row Records. Because Tupac never signed with Bad Boy. Okay, I'm gonna put that in the video. This in the video. As Tupac got in trouble, including being shot at and convicted for art, among other things, he ended up spending time in jail. During this time, Biggie's rap career began to flourish. Because of Pac's bad reputation, Blank distanced himself from Pac and stepped Blank Death Row Records. At this time, Biggie was named Rapper of the Year and making millions for Bad Boy. Then they go into a chronology. September 93, Blank Death Row artist was charged along with 2 other Death Row employees in the murder of a gang member in Los Angeles. What? Death Row employee, okay. Forensic and ballistic evidence crucial to the case in the possession of the LAPD Pacific Division became missing. At the time the evidence became missing, LAPD officer Kevin Gaines was living with Blank, was producing Blank, a major part of Death Row. Blank was subsequently acquitted. And then they talk about Gaines being shot by the officer. Wow. October the 1st, 93, Tupac was arrested for allegedly shooting an off-duty officer in Atlanta. 94, November, Tupac was shot 5 times. March the 13th, 93, a gang member is murdered by the El Rey Theater in Los Angeles. Many other security people are off-duty police officers from Long Beach PD, Compton PD, Inglewood PD, Hawthorne PD, and LAPD, all working for Right Way Securities, who handled all Death Row security at the time. The victim was beaten by numerous blood gang members. Death Row Blank and many police officers working for Death Row were blood gang members. Right Way Blank, a former Compton police officer. 95 Source Awards. While on stage in front of a national audience, Death Row makes antagonistic remarks towards Blank Bad Boy Records. November the 1st, 95. 1 month after Source Awards, Blank accuses Blank for the Atlanta murder of Jason Robles. Blank was with Blank when he was fatally shot, which was the result of an argument between Death Row and Bad Boy employees. Blank, see September the 7th, 96 in chronology. Okay, was identified by police officers as being involved in this killing. Detective Blank, New York PD FBI task force has source who stated Blank was also involved, who is a bodyguard. November the 4th, 95, same day. Biggie is named Rap Artist of the Year by Billboard magazine. At this time, Tupac was recovering from the 94 shooting and was charged with R from a separate incident. November 95, 1995, LAPD officer Blank is investigated for working with Death Row, a violation of LAPD policy. LAPD policy. Late 95, recording artist Randy Stretch Walker, believed to be of Death Row, was murdered in a drive-by shooting in Queens. I didn't know any of that. Winter 95, Bad Boy released recording by Biggie titled Who Shot Ya? Death Row states they believe the song was in reference to the November 94 shooting of Pac. December 18th, 95, following MTV Awards, Blank was reported beaten by members of Death Row who were seeking information on the whereabouts of Blank Bad Boy. Recall hearing radio communications about this from police officers who were present. When he was relieved, LA County police officers were present. 2 off-duty officers were present at the Death Row party during the beating, blank, it is alleged that death row security who beat blank were LAPD officers working off duty for death row. The same two officers later seen at the death row party. May 1996, death row is investigated for zoning violations associated with numerous crimes of violence. Reports of this state there are armed security guards at this location in plain clothes and in security uniforms. These security officers are off-duty police officers and retired officers which are employed by death row. March the 7th, 96, fight breaks out between death row and bad boy employees in the VIP area at the 1996 Soul Train Awards, with guns being brandished. Officers responding state blank was present with 15 to 20 additional gang members along with armed security guards. Also present are off-duty police officers from Hawthorne PD and LAPD Metro officer, among other agencies. Responding officers at these off-duty officers work for blank death row as bodyguards. June 1st, 96. LAPD is informed that the ATF was conducting an investigation of death row concerning firearm violations and that the IRS was conducting a simultaneous tax investigation. June 2nd, 96. A meeting between LAPD death row takes place to discuss dissatisfaction with armed security personnel and the use of off-duty police officers. August 18th, 1996. 4 identified gang members were arrested as they left death row. 1 semi-automatic handgun and 2 ski masks are recovered. September 7th, 96. Blank rap artist for Bad Boy was beaten at the MGM Grand Hotel in Vegas on the night of the Tyson versus Holyfield fight. Tupac and other death row members were involved in the assault, which was caught on video tape. Okay, I'm gonna read one more page. September the 7th, 96, same night, LAPD officers blank was present in Vegas for the Tyson Holyfield fight. September the 7th, 96, same night, Tupac of death row was shot and killed in Vegas in the car driven blank as they left the MGM Grand. This occurred approximately 2 hours after the beating blank by blank Tupac and others. Tupac died 6 days later from gunshots. September the 9th, 96. According to Compton PD search warrant, gang members of the gang associated with death row met at Lauders Park in Los Angeles to discuss retaliation against Southside Crip gang members for the Tupac shooting. Lauders Park. After this meeting, LAPD learned that blank, an Inglewood school police officer, was working for death row. October the 22nd, 96. Blank was incarcerated in LA County Jail for probation violation, the beating blank at the MGM Grand with Tupac. October 23, 1996. While LAPD is interviewing death row employees, the interview was disrupted by blank, a San Bernardino reserve officer working security for death row. November the 4th, 96, FBI Los Angeles received a call from an LAPD officer identifying himself as Officer Blank, inquiring whether the FBI had an ongoing investigation of death row. Blank was investigated for ties to death row in November 95. Now, why did you call? If you knew you couldn't, oh my gosh, these people didn't win. Why they didn't have somebody else call to ask them a question? Why you give your name? Why you didn't have somebody else call and ask? Jesus Christ. Shortly after the murder of Biggie, an anonymous person placed a telephone call to blank, New York, and stated that a person identified as blank was involved in the blank killing. Blank spoke with the LAPD, gave them this information, and was subsequently told by the LAPD there are over 500 blank in the phone directory. No further follow-up was done by LAPD. Blank did not learn there was a LAPD officer named Blank discussed later in write-up until reading the June 7, 2001 article in the Rolling Stone magazine. Oh my God. Okay, I'm done. I'm so done. Yeah, I'm gonna put some links up in the description. And that's about it, folks. I was like I said, I had not really, it's just so much emphasis on on Tupac and the investigation of Tupac and his murder, that people talk about Biggie, but it's more focused on Tupac. And so if that link wasn't in the article of FBI link, the link to the FBI files on Christopher Wallace, I'm to be honest with you, I wouldn't even did this research. But I had stumbled across some articles talking about Rampart and Biggie Smalls and Tupac about a year ago, but I just didn't get into it. I didn't get into it. Yeah, I'm glad I did look into it. I mean, it was so obvious to me. I think, why I think a lot of people don't really emphasize the Biggie murder, not because it's not interesting, but because it was obvious. It was more obvious. And even though Tupac most likely had a lot of enemies or jealous folks on his jock, it was obvious what happened to Biggie, that it was retaliation. The only thing people had to find out was who did it. Who was the shot caller? Who sounded out, gave the green light, That was the only thing they had to figure out. Yeah, how people always talk about the rabbit holes. Those rabbit holes are deep. Yeah, some are very deep and some aren't that deep. Sometimes it is right in your face, for real. All right, then I'm shutting shop down and giving my voice a break and drink this hot tea. And hope you guys enjoy the article or the research, the information in this video. To those who have not heard it like that, or didn't really divulge in the other things surrounding Biggie Smalls' murder, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Those who already know everything about Biggie, even more than what he knows about himself, oh hey, no need to say anything else. Okay, thank you guys, have a great day, and we'll see y'all in the next video.